you've actually just seen is roughly about 8 months worth of photos every day. The final 4 months, to be quite honest, there really wasn't that much of a change that you saw. I mean, I kept on having, I must have had about like 2-3 haircuts during those 4 months. And truth be told, you know, it kind of got to a point that yes, it looked a little bit thicker, but I wouldn't say it was anything, you know, you'd have missed out on. I think the real magic in what happened during that hair transplant really kind of happened in those first 6 months, which you basically just got to see, and a little bit further past that. But I want to take the opportunity in this video to really just kind of express how I felt about the whole process, and how I feel about my hair now. As you can see, I mean, it's grown super long. It really is messy at the moment. There is good reason for it. So when you saw the sort of transformation video, or the part 1 to this sort of like hair transplant series, that was done back in September of 2020, and I'm only a month away now of having my 2-year anniversary of having the hair transplant done. Hilariously, my parents have absolutely no idea that I actually had it done, or well, except for my brother. My brother knows. I was going to say my family don't know, but my parents don't know, which is absolutely hilarious, and I'm going to keep it that way because I think, because of what I'm going to share at the end of this video, I kind of still want it to be a bit of a surprise for them, because I certainly want to film and capture their reaction when I do in time tell them. But yeah, there is good reason why my hair is long, and it's because I have grown it. I've had long hair for quite a while now, for easily maybe about a year or so, and at the moment it's a little bit longer than it normally would be. And that's because I wanted to just experience what my hair would be if it was much longer, and if it was covering the crown of my head, which hasn't as of yet been done. And I absolutely love really how the hair covers my crown. It certainly makes my hair look fuller, but it is essentially a comb over. But we will get to that anyway. As for what happened really in the first few months, well, as you kind of saw in the photos, the first month or so, the hair or the grafts kept on growing. You certainly feel like you're on top of the world at that point, because you're like, oh my god, it looks amazing, I can't wait to see what this is going to look like when it grows out fully and stuff. And then you get to a particular point where the grafts start falling out. And I would say, I think for anyone, that is probably a very scary moment. Oh, hang on, it's gone just a bit dark. So yeah, so once the grafts then fall out, that's when it does feel a little bit scary, because it just feels like it's failed. And I certainly remember having a few days where I thought like, oh, I've wasted my money, this hasn't worked, I've made it worse. I've not only lost hair normally, but I've now lost even more hair from the sides and the back of my head because of this, making this decision. And you know, you feel like that for a little while, and I think through the 2nd and 3rd months, there was always that idea at the back of my mind, and I just kept on having to sort of calm myself down and being like, look, just trust the process, and wait and see. You know, everyone online dubs this as like the ugly duckling phase. You're just gonna have to bear with it, really. And hilariously, at least during that time, like during the lockdowns, you know, there wasn't really any need to go out, so at least people didn't see it in public so much. I did a lot of ordering online because I had felt a little bit of self-conscious with being out in public, and especially in the very early phase where like my head was swollen, and there were like red patches and stuff, and you know, and it had sort of scabbed just slightly, but all in all, it was okay. Now, after I think the 3rd or 4th month, that was when things really just start picking up, because I had at least some hair length, not growth so much, but I had some hair length on my head, so I could at least go back to a hairdresser and have a bit of a style there. Now it looked like I did have really short hair, but it was at least something that I had some hair on my head. And that was really also when the magic started happening, where you saw these little baby hairs sprouting out here and there, but it was quite sporadic and it did look quite messy. And then as like the 4th and 5th month had sort of hit, that's when it just started really populating and starting to just get thicker in there. And by the 6th month, it really started to take off. And then by the 7th and 8th month, that was when really, I couldn't notice myself like much more of a change in what was happening, but according to like my hairstylist, it was getting thicker and thicker. And of course, as the baby hairs were growing longer and they were getting thicker, and then more was sprouting and stuff, it just kind of got to a point that I didn't really notice anything, especially by like the 8th or 9th month. But it does seem like people were noticing it did look thicker. And then of course it got to this point where it's at now, and I absolutely love it. Getting the hair transplant was probably one of the best decisions I think I ever made, in regards even to how it made me feel like confidence-wise. I just felt so much better having fuller hair, and I even had people like ask me how, not ask me how old I was, but certainly like there were circumstances where like I had to sort of like prove my age, because people didn't believe that, at the time I was 33 or 34. They were like, no, you look like you're about 26, 27. So by all means, if you are thinking about getting a haircut, hair transplant, and just slow down my speaking. If you are thinking about getting a hair transplant, definitely in regards to like confidence, it does make a huge difference, I think. And even with just like what people say about getting the hair transplant makes you look younger, I can certainly agree with it. People have almost questioned my age when I've told them how old I am, and they're like, but no, that's no way. And also like with friends and stuff who knew that I had the hair transplant, they absolutely were in awe seeing like the before and after photos from the first, from what my hair looked like just before I had it done to what it looks like now. So definitely, I would say if you are someone who is quite self-conscious about their hair or hair loss, I would definitely say first of all, just try and be daring enough to try and see what your head looks like with it shaved, or with you being bald. And if you don't like it, then consider going for something like a hair transplant, and even just having a consultation with it. There are YouTube channels. There was a huge one that I watched called Bald Cafe for a little while, and I absolutely love really with what he's doing. And because of him, I gave it a go and had actually shaved my head before making or diving into the decision of getting the hair transplant. But I just felt for me that it just didn't suit me, and so I would say definitely give that a try, because if you can save some money without necessarily having the hair transplant, then by all means. Sometimes I've certainly seen for people, shaving your head, you actually can look better, and especially if you do grow like a beard or something, it just seems to like balance itself out, and it can work. But yeah, if after that, 100%, at least have a consultation and find out, if getting a hair transplant is right for you, and if you can at least see what, or hear what kind of results you would get from that. Now, for me, as you saw in the photos, they actually did the front half of my head, and actually, I will get to that, because what has popped into my mind is just expressing. Oh yeah, that was it. I completely forgot, but I kind of wanted to do these videos. I mean, I'm a very private person anyway, but I wanted to really just share my openness about me having my hair transplant, because it bothered me for a really long time. And as you even saw in the part 1 video, it was certainly playing as a big insecurity for me. And I just kind of hope that at least with this kind of video or video mini-series, that it does inspire you to, you know, take action on it. I've certainly got even more respect for people who before me had any sort of transplant because, you know, you've done it, or because you want to work on your insecurities and you want to feel better about yourself. And interestingly, the money doesn't actually matter. After I did it, and after the moment you see those results, the money issue doesn't really matter, which is kind of why I am considering getting a second hair transplant. And this is why I want to keep my current situation private to my parents, because I want to really see if after I have a second one done, they are going to notice it after the hair grows back and it fills out the other bits that are missing. So certainly as the hair grows and stuff, there are of course still hairs that don't quite grow. So although I had, I think it was 3,800 grafts, that doesn't mean that every single one of them survived. So, you know, even if we say like roughly 10% didn't quite make it, you know, there's still like the minor areas that could have been filled in. And for me, you probably aren't going to be able to see it so much at the front, unless actually, I wonder if I come near to the camera. Yeah, okay, so at the front, I kind of felt that it's still just a little bit thin. Here, and especially on this side, it seems a bit thin. So my idea is to try and, well, after speaking to the consultation guy, you know, I'm going to get the front filled in. And also, I want to get the crown done, because I'm just finding that with this comb over, it's just become a real nuisance. So yeah, it's becoming a bit of a real nuisance, because as soon as the wind hits it, it just sort of like takes off and it goes messy into its own way. My hair is also quite light and fair, so certainly during like the hotter seasons, it does feel like it goes a bit thinner and fluffy, and it just has a life of its own. And long hair doesn't really suit that, unless I was probably like tying it back. But because of the crown bit, you know, it's very front heavy, so it kind of falls forward, and yeah, so then it kind of then looks a little bit like this, you know, which isn't great, but I want to get the crown done, so I'll get that done, and, you know, that then will mean that I can have, you know, this kind of look without it being a comb over. And certainly if like the wind hits it, it's still going to look quite nice and tidy, and I can also properly experience short hair again, which is kind of why, like, today I'm going to go and get my hair cut, and have short hair, and at least experience what it's like without the hair covering over the whole or the crown on the top of my head. So yeah, it'd be really good. And also it then means like my parents or a family can get used to me having shorter hair, so when I do get the second hair transplant done, my hair can quickly grow back to then what it's at, and no one will really sort of like know the difference, because of course all of the first round of transplant stuff is gonna, hairs are gonna grow back, and it will just look thick anyway, even with it being quite short. So I think that is everything. I've gone over what the experience was like with getting the transplant done and the growth of it. Certainly just be patient, however horrible, you know, the ugly duckling phase is, and it certainly varies, I think, from person to person. Just be patient with it. After like maybe the 6th, 7th month, then you can start gauging like where you're at. But that first quarter of the year, don't expect anything, you know. Unfortunately, Rome wasn't built in a day, and that's the exact same thing with hair transplants. It does take a while for the hair to grow. You know, so that's why I'm going to be so much more confident when I do have the second one, and take a lot more comfort and ease into knowing how the whole process works. So I've gone over all of the months. I've shared my thoughts on getting a second hair transplant, revealed that to you, and yeah, I think that's kind of it really. I mean, overall, again, like, it has made a huge difference to my life with getting it done. I certainly feel a lot more confident in myself, but I think just having the crown now finished, because it kind of feels like a part 1 was done on the hair and now I want to get the part 2 done. But once that is done, then yeah, I think I'm going to be so over the moon with how my hair is and how it feels, and just know that I can have any sort of hairstyle again that I want, without having to feel like, oh no, this needs to be covering this bit because, you know, there's a gap there and stuff, you know, because there's not really any hairs there left on my crown, so whatever grows there is just going to be a, you know, a pure blessing really. But you know, if you've got any questions as well about like the whole experience, then maybe I could probably do like one more video just talking about or answering your questions really, and talking about anything else that maybe I have forgotten or missed out that you want to hear more about. But you know, ultimately I really do hope that for guys watching this who are thinking about getting a hair transplant, that maybe it does give you a bit more insight into, you know, what to expect with getting it done. I know there are other videos out there, but I think it's always good to just have like people from all over the world sharing their experiences on the same thing, because then yeah, maybe you get people who relate to me as well as to other people. Maybe I've got different stories to them, who knows. But all in all, no, I really hope that this video and my previous one was really beneficial for you. If you have got any questions about my experiences with getting the hair transplant, or you want to know more about stuff, then definitely leave some messages for me or comments underneath this video, and certainly like and subscribe if you can. I will most likely do a part 3, which I'll kind of just do as an all-in-one documentary of what happened for my second hair transplant and the growth and stuff for it, and certainly a reaction of my family when I finally let my parents know that I actually had a hair transplant, because it's just hilarious that they haven't noticed it at all over the last 2 years and haven't even said like, your hair looks so much fuller, why is that? So yeah, we'll certainly see with that. But yeah, definitely subscribe to my channel and to stay up to date with that and any questions that you have. But other than that, yeah, I really do hope this was useful for you, and look forward to I suppose my next hair transplant transformation. And until then, thank you for watching.